Darien Lake is one of the latest parks to join the Six Flags chain. It actually used to be a Six Flags park a while back, but only recently did Six Flags reacquire it, so now it's Six Flags Darien Lake, and I visited the park for the first time under that name, so I never experienced it when it was just Darien Lake. So, because I never had that experience, I won't really be doing any comparisons in this review to how the park used to be, but instead I'll just be covering my general overall thoughts on the place based off of my experience. And I gotta say, we had a pretty interesting visit here. We actually ended up going for 2 days, the night before Memorial Day and then the morning of Memorial Day. And we were actually able to cover most of the attractions in a short period of time the night before we were even planning on visiting. Crowds were super light for us, but I will say with the time that we had here, we were really able to experience the park and everything it had to offer. So I feel like I really got a good feel for the place. One of the first things that I think is worth noting is this park is kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's sort of near Buffalo, New York or Niagara Falls. It's actually in Darien, New York, and pretty much the only thing there is Darien Lake. So when you visit, just note there's actually not a whole lot of hotels in the area, so you're pretty limited on your options. But you arrive to the place, and upon entry, I actually really liked their front gate. I think it looked very pretty. I liked the style of it. Unfortunately, it kind of took way longer than it should have to get in, just because of park security. The lines move slower. We even got in the membership specific line to get into the park because they would move faster, but it still moved really slow. So unfortunately, that was kind of our first impression, is like, okay, we haven't even gotten in the park and this is taking forever. But once we were finally in, we were greeted with their main entrance street, fairly small, not really any rides off of it. This is just kind of your entry into the main park. One thing I did like is that right off to the left is a Tim Hortons. And on this particular trip when we visited Darien Lake, we went into Canada, and so we've been eating a lot of Tim Hortons. And so we were very glad that there was one inside Six Flags Darien Lake. So be sure to take advantage of that. But one downside I'll say with this park, and this was pretty evident early on, is that there is a lot of blacktop here. Not only does blacktop absorb heat, but it just doesn't look good aesthetically. So I can't say I was a big fan of that. Getting into the main park, when the place is called Darien Lake, of course there's going to be a body of water in the center. And it's very nice. They have attractions completely surrounding it. So it's actually very pretty. Lots of really neat photo opportunities. Cool places where you can just walk along the waterfront, get a good view of everything. And I think calling it Darien Lake is a little deceiving because actually there is more than one lake here. A good portion of Ride of Steel goes completely over water. Before visiting, I had only ever ridden Superman Ride of Steel at Six Flags America, and I thought it was a very wonky ride. But Darien Lake got it first, and so you can finally understand what all the straight sections are for. The helixes, I feel like, were just way more impactful. So I actually enjoyed this Ride of Steel a lot more than Six Flags America's, mostly because of location. Some of the other roller coasters, weren't too bad. I hadn't heard very good things about Predator, but I wouldn't even say it was that rough. Sure, here and there it has a few jolty moments, but the layout was decent. I still think it'd be a pretty good candidate for an RMC, but it was nowhere near as bad as I was expecting. And I'd say that the same goes for Viper. Few jolty moments, but pretty decent looping coaster. Their Boomerang is nothing special. They have a Gerstlauer Eurofighter called Tantrum. I actually did a full review of that, so I'm not really going to go into that. Just go watch that whole separate video. They have a Vekoma SLC Mind Eraser, absolutely terrible. I hate these things, but I will say, it's right next to, guess what, another body of water. And it's so pretty. Really cool setting. And I think they also had a pretty decent collection of family attractions. They got flying scooters. There's a Ferris wheel. They only recently added a Starflyer, great addition. There is a Larson loop here. And a personal favorite of mine, Moose on the Loose. What an epic ride. It's so meme worthy. I love it. In terms of general atmosphere, I think it's fine. The park was clean. The landscaping, I would say, could use a little love. Like, they have trees, but I wouldn't really say there are flowers everywhere. It feels like they could do more to beautify the park, because there's a lot of wide open spaces here. I just feel like they could have done a bit more. But I guess now it is a Six Flags park, so I'd say it about met my expectations. And speaking of it being Six Flags, I will say there were some signs that were at least noticeable to me that this was still a fairly new Six Flags park. Like, for instance, if you are a Diamond Elite member, you are eligible to get 2 free fast passes for that day. So one of the friends that I was with was a Diamond Elite, so he went to the center to redeem his Skip the Lines, and the people in there had no idea what he was talking about. So I'm guessing not too many people had gone to Six Flags Darien Lake and asked to redeem them. So that actually took quite a bit of time trying to get all that sorted out. Eventually we were able to get them, but still it was a bit of a headache. Another thing, the dining plan. It felt like the options were so limited. Not only were the food lines long, but they move slow, and once you get up there, if you have a dining plan, it feels like more than half of the options aren't even included. And that was disappointing for me because I know that I can go redeem some free food or food that I've already paid for because of my membership. But then any of the things that I would have ordered, not that they were overly fancy or anything, just classic theme park food, some of it wasn't even offered. So I'm like, what's the deal here? So I definitely think they have a few things to work on. By no means would I say this is a bad park. I'd say it's probably average. I would say actually my favorite part of the park, they have an amazing light show at the end of the night. This is low-key the best part of Six Flags Darien Lake. We had no idea about it going in, but it was so epic. They had lasers, fog, fire, projections. It was so good. I was blown away. I couldn't believe that something like this existed at a park like this. It was a very hype way to end out the night. So definitely, if they are doing the show when you visit, do not miss it. But I'd say that about does it for this review of Six Flags Darien Lake. Again, I'd say fairly average park. They do some things well, but they definitely have some other things that they could work on. I'd say comparing it to the rest of the Six Flags parks, I'd say either middle of the pack, maybe lower tier. But I want to hear from you guys what you think of this place, whether you visited it as just Darien Lake or Six Flags Darien Lake. I want to hear what you think of the place. Be sure to post all those thoughts down in the comments below, and stay tuned for more here at Coaster Studios, and I'll see you guys next time.